Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of our Open Innovation Thursdays. My name is Marisol Menendez. I'm an open innovation expert, practitioner, and enthusiast, and that's why it's such a joy for me to be doing these weekly sessions together with the authors of each of the chapters of the of the Oxford Handbook of Open Innovation. Where we are reviewing every week with each of these authors. This book is reviewed. Sorry, I will begin again because I was mixing with the conference. Sorry.
Sure.
Begin. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new edition of our Open Innovation Thursdays. My name is Marisol Menendez. I'm an open innovation practitioner, expert, enthusiast, and this is why it's such a joy for me to be every Thursday discussing during 15 minutes each of the chapters of the Oxford Handbook of Open Innovation published in February, where we are talking about different elements of the body of knowledge of open innovation. Today we have the guest. It's a special guest, Erkko Autio. Welcome, Erkko. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm feeling great. How about you?
Very well. I'm connecting from Bilbao, north of Spain, and we know that the book has authors from all over the world. Where are you connecting from, Erkko?
Sorry, where?
Where are you connecting from? Where are you based?
I'm based in, at the moment, I'm near Reading in the UK. So I'm from Imperial College Business School, which is in London. My co-author, Hervé Legendre, is at the European Institute for Purchasing Management, and she is near Geneva. Ari-Pekka Hameri is professor of supply chain management, and he's at the Université de Lausanne, HEC Université de Lausanne. So
Wow.
we have 3 countries.
That's marvelous. Very open innovation-y as well.
Very open, yeah.
So, Erkko, you are authors, as you and your co-authors wrote chapter number 30. It's amazing that we already have 30 of these sessions. And chapter 30 is the first chapter of section number 6 in the book, which is new developments in open innovation. The chapter you wrote is titled Open Technology Maneuvering in Digital Infrastructures. So we are going to review that today, but we always want to learn a little bit about the author. So first of all, I would like for you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your story and your career. What do you do? What are your areas of study and work?
Well, I'm a professor of technology venturing at Imperial College Business School. Originally, I graduated in industrial management, which is kind of industrial engineering and management from Helsinki University of Technology, which subsequently became Aalto University. And I wasn't ever going to be a great engineer, so I started doing management. I always focus on innovation, entrepreneurship, in the intersection of innovation, entrepreneurship, value creation, and during recent years, increasingly digitalization. So trying to understand how digitalization shapes how value is being created and delivered and captured in today's digital economy.
This is so interesting evolution, and I figure, well, that's very connected to the topic of your chapter. What brought you together with your co-authors, and how did the idea of writing about this came to be?
Well, it is interesting. It was actually my co-authors, Hervé and Ari-Pekka, who are both in supply chain management. And traditionally, economy, production activities have been organized in a linear vertical fashion. So you have a supply chain where you have a chain of suppliers and they are connected by supplier contracts. And operating in that space, Hervé and Ari-Pekka started noticing that increasingly these vertical activities are becoming horizontalized. And there's a lot of open source activity going on. So in the traditional economy, your ability to capture value is based on your control of some critical assets that are not available widely uh, amongst competitors. So that's how you make money. And they increasingly see firms operating and dealing with open source software and open technologies in general. And we started thinking about that, and we have been doing this since before COVID. We spent a lot of time during the COVID debating these things, and this chapter is a distillation of some of those ideas.
So interesting. And so let's open the conversation about the chapter. So what is it about? What are the main ideas in it?
Well, the main idea, and as some background, we need some background to this. So digital transformation is fundamentally and quite simply about migrating value creating activities into the cloud. So that's digital transformation. So cloud technologies, we have cloud computing, and we have firms increasingly converting their value creating activities into algorithmic form that are operated in and through the cloud, and that way they become scalable and your value creation dynamic changes completely. So that's the essence of digital transformation, and we have been talking about digital transformation for a good 15 years now. So, nothing new there. What people don't realize that the cloud world is an open technology world. Most of the foundational technologies, and we are talking about what we call the digital technology stack, or the technology stack of digital infrastructures. And we have transmission layers, and we have programming and application development layers, and then we have user-facing layers. So it's a kind of a hierarchy. Most of that technology stack is composed of open technologies. Not only open source software, but also open source hardware, open hardware designs, open data, more recently pre-trained machine learning algorithms that are open, and all kinds of shared assets, which we call in this chapter digital technology commons. So it's an open source world. And most firms really do not understand, they still don't understand what's going on in the cloud. And they should, because that's where their value creation and capture happens today. So we have this dynamic, we have this open technology dynamic that is shaping digital infrastructure, which now constitute the backbone for any value creating activity in today's digital economy. And most people don't understand this open source dynamic and its potential strategic implications for their own ability to create, deliver, and capture value. So that's, a fairly long description, but this is what this chapter is about.
And you also bring forward, which stands out as very interesting for me, that the ecosystems that are created by this infrastructure of technologies. And there's also this learning path on companies and organizations in how to move across and around of the ecosystems. What are your insights related to these ecosystems? What's any learnings or finds that you have in this perspective?
Yeah, so what we focus on in this chapter in particular is these digital technology commons. So we have open technologies, which are technologies that can be openly accessed by anyone with highly permissive licensing conditions. So you have things like TensorFlow platform, which was originally designed by Google, and which is a platform for developing and implementing AI and machine learning applications. It is open source. The TensorFlow platform is open source. There's PyTorch, a similar platform released by Meta. And then the question becomes, well, the firms today are trying to understand the AI and machine learning revolution and what it means and implies for their own businesses. How should they react? What should they do? How should they take advantage of this technology? And how should they recognize some of the risks and threats that might be posed by the rapid development of these technologies? And this is open source, and that means that, for example, around TensorFlow, you have this huge developer community because everyone can use TensorFlow. They can develop add-ons to the TensorFlow, new functionalities, and so on and so forth. So it's a constantly evolving space, and this is obviously important for open innovation. So there's this external dynamic that is driving innovation for some of the key resources that you need to manage your own value creation activities. So as a conventional business, the question then becomes, well, what is this dynamic about? And is there something I can do to harness this dynamic to try my own competitive advantage? And if so, how? These are the big questions that we try to address a little bit. Obviously, this is a short chapter, but we try to introduce a general framework that businesses can use to, when they think about, well, how do we maneuver? How should we maneuver in this space? And what are the implications of some of these, what we call open technology ecosystems, for their own strategies?
It's with good reason that this is part of the chapter of new developments in open innovation. As you were saying, this technology and infrastructure is creating new dynamics for collaboration, beyond of what we were used to. So I very much like this practical focus for firms, and you also point out interesting areas for academia and research. So maybe just pointing towards the final conclusions, what are the main learnings that academics can take, or maybe more future research points? That would be question one. And the question two, what would be an advice or a learning for practitioners and firms?
Okay. So the core of this chapter is really what we call the 4S maneuvers framework. And those 4 S's are sponsoring, supporting, siphoning, and safeguarding. So we have a 2x2 matrix. One of the axes makes a distinction between value co-creation. What are the maneuvers that I can employ to drive value co-creation within this open technology developer community such that I benefit? And then value capture. How do I capture my fair share, and as much as possible, to be honest, of the value co-created by this community? So we have value co-creation maneuvers, we have value capture maneuvers, we have participant level maneuvers, and we have community level maneuvering. So we have 2 dimensions of maneuvering. What do you do as an individual stakeholder, and how do you try to manage the community around these open technologies? And then we have the focus of value co-creation and value capture. So we have 4 S's here. If we start with the community focus, and let me use Google as one example, and this is entirely applicable for any kind of business, not only digital businesses such as Google. But Google was lagging behind Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure as a cloud service provider. Now, cloud services is a big industry, it's, tens of billions per year. So they were number 3, and Amazon and Microsoft were far ahead. So what does Google do in order to try to catch up? They develop what is pretty much the operating system for data centers. And data centers is where cloud is being operated, and then you need an operating system to allocate jobs and manage the loads and what have you, and keep everything running smoothly. So they developed an open source version of a data center operating platform, which is called Kubernetes. Kubernetes. This is the key. It's like Windows for laptops, or it's the iMac for Apple laptop. So it is the operating system. So they open source it, and people start using it. And all of a sudden, Kubernetes has maybe 90% market share in data center management all over in cloud in general. Why do they benefit? Well, Kubernetes was developed by them, and when it's open source, people start developing functionalities, and these functionalities, this open source dynamic, very rapidly helped establish Kubernetes as the most versatile platform for data center management that was available. So there was this development momentum, and that propelled Kubernetes into the center of the cloud world. And it's a major influencer. It's a software platform, but it's a major influence shaping how cloud develops. Because Google was the main developer and it's still the main contributor to the Kubernetes platform, that means that Google's position within the cloud service provision market became very influential. They no longer control the technology, but they are associated with Kubernetes. And that's one way to use open source to help strengthen your position within this cloud technology stack. So that worked very well for Google, and that meant that now they have more cloud, and it's easier for them to attract customers for their own cloud service provision business, which is private and which is, the Google offers services and that are paid for and all the rest. So that's a sponsoring maneuver driving an ecosystem creation around Kubernetes, and Kubernetes becomes a important building block within the cloud technology stack, and that has positive impacts for Google's own position in the cloud services. Then we have supporting activities, and this is value co-creation that we are talking about. But at the participant level, so you face two choices when you are building your own cloud technology architecture. You can choose to start using proprietary technologies, be they software platforms or what have you, or you can choose to harness mostly open technologies and open source software and open data and similar. Now, if you choose open data, that means that you can avoid supplier dependency. If you have a single supplier of some of your key technology, that means that you become dependent on them, and that is usually can be costly. If you choose from the outset to build your cloud infrastructure using mostly open technologies, that means that you avoid supplier dependency. If you choose to do that, you may want to become a contributor to those technologies that you are using, because now you have, for any technology, behind any technology, there will be a big developer community who are making contributions to that particular technology that you somehow use to create, create value for with whatever services you are offering. If you become a developer that makes contributions to the community, that means that you can start influencing where the community develops. And that means that you can try to address and turn the attention of the developers towards the kinds of performance bottlenecks that are important for you. And that means that those performance bottlenecks get resolved more quickly, and that means that you can create more value.
Yeah.
So that's some of the, so we have sponsoring, we have supporting, you're making contributions, and that means that, the bottlenecks get resolved more quickly. But then you may also have opportunistic activities, you might have some players who don't necessarily want to contribute to the open source community, but they still try to exploit it for their own benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that can lead to conflicts. For example, we might have a player like Facebook or someone else who releases a technology as open access, but then they might decide later to change some of the licensing conditions for that technology to the disadvantage of the other community participants. And that might be in order to,
Leverage.
strengthen their foothold in the community or increase their ability to extract value from the community without necessarily paying attention to the shared interests of that community. So, that would be siphoning. Well, how do you safeguard against siphoning? Well, you may call such opportunistic maneuvers, you may call out them, you may create publicity around them which hurts the reputation of the opportunistic player, and you may force them to back down. And actually, you have these kinds of tugs of war going on pretty much all the time. And if you are participating in this game, then it is in your interest to be aware of what is going on, because all of a sudden you might discover that, well, actually, some of the technologies you are using, some of their licensing conditions are being unilaterally changed to your disadvantage. And you want to make sure that that doesn't happen. And that's why you want to participate in the community, to make sure that no one tries to exploit unilaterally the collective actions and contributions of the community for their sole benefit,
Mm.
without regard to the interest of the community. So
Yeah,
that kind of framework.
Mm. Very interesting, because well, with this, as you were saying, the dynamics in this 2x2 with the 4S's in reality also apply to many other ecosystems. At the end, we have in digital very fast dynamics around collaborations, but these are four interesting strategies. With these guidelines, both users and also academics can look into each of the behaviors and look into actions on how to apply those.
Yeah, we have implications for practice and research. So from the research perspective, again, traditional focus has been very much on proprietary technology. So the idea is that if you want to make money with someone, you need to protect it. And that's how you make money. You just protect everything you have. In the open innovation world, it doesn't work like that. So in the open innovation world, you may want to selectively open some of your technologies so that others can start making contributions to those technologies. And this development then helps you, because now your technology becomes more powerful, it becomes more widely used, it becomes more stable, what have you, and it will become more valuable for you. That's good. And we also know that. But then how do you actually play the game? Because it can also be bad for you if you just blindly open stuff.
Yeah, of course. Those are the dynamics and tensions, to solve.
Yeah. So we have the classic case of IBM PC, which is basically, they try to harness this open innovation dynamic and use external developers and, software developers making MS-DOS compatible software. But they open too much, and they try to keep controls of the BIOS, the core input-output system of the MS-DOS operating software. But that was actually quickly re-engineered, and they lost control of it. And it developed into a huge industry, but IBM didn't benefit much. It was Microsoft and Intel who benefit, not IBM. So what do
Very,
you
very
open?
interesting to have failure stories. We love failure stories as well as part of
Yeah,
the game itself. of this. Unfortunately, we are already at the end of our available time, but we can see that we have many interesting areas of research and also of applying very practical um, topics to apply no in firms. Any final thoughts just for us to close this chapter today?
Well, yeah, I have a message for, practitioners and businesses. Cloud is where you create value increasingly. Cloud is an open technology world, and that means that in order for you to maximize your ability to create value, you need to understand open technologies, and you need to participate in those communities. And the key is to do that in such a way that you don't accidentally undermine your own business. But on the other hand, you want to maximize the scalability of your business by harnessing cloud for value creation, delivery, and capture. So this paragraph opens up a little bit of visibility into how that world operates. It's by no means the final word. It's a brief introduction, but it's very important to be aware that this is where you create value today, and open technologies are not going to go away. So you better start thinking about, well, how do you harness open technologies to your advantage?
So very interesting and powerful, Erkko. Congratulations on the chapter. Thank you very much for sharing and dedicating this time to us today. And we invite all our listeners and viewers to just dive into the chapter and learn firsthand of all the ideas that we are learning in this first chapter of the new developments and in open innovation section of the book. Erkko, thank you very much for connecting. Thank you very much for your time today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
the
you,
interview.
and see you in a bit.
See
Thank
you. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.